of what happens to people in general that creates horrible people, you know? I mean, and
Well,
it's
no,
kind of...
it's not. It's they become automatons.
Yeah, it goes back to your Kardashian rant, I guess. Like, how do people become terrible people?
I have theories on it. My main theory is that it's from Gurdjieff. It's this idea that people put themselves on autopilot at some point to avoid reality because they're around psychic vampires. And whenever you're around vampires, it's such a terrible experience because vampires, they initially will always seem terrifying and horrible and unovercomable. And when you're a little kid, if your parents happen to be vampires, they are. You can't do anything about it. You're not going to be able to stop your fucking molesting parents from ramming their fingers into your asshole for years. And this is why people will go so into autopilot they don't even remember it, and then they go into therapy and they're like, "Whoa, holy shit! I had to not exist for 12 years of my life on and off to prevent my paradigm from crumbling, because there's no way you can exist as a child with parents and trust them and love them while simultaneously knowing that at night every once in a while they come in and fuck your mouth. It doesn't work, so you blank out. You blank out. You know, it's that bad, and then that's a vampiric act. You know, those are monsters. Those are vampiric demons. They're monsters. They were they probably turned into vampires because of other vampires. Because you know how vampires fucking make new vampires. They bite somebody, and it fucking turns that person into a vampire. So what ends up happening is. You end up in your life surrounded by vampires, and you blank out, put yourself on autopilot, and just like anyone who's on autopilot, you don't change your behavior according to the new terrain that you're getting in. You just leave it on autopilot. So you end up in a fucking brand new part of the multiverse, and you're still steering your fucking ship the same way, and then you start having problems. And the problems, what do? You don't want to overcome the problems because you've learned that the way to overcome problems is to go into autopilot. So you go into autopilot again. And the next thing you know, you're like 10 levels deep in a super trance where you're doing everything you can to get out of experiencing the present moment and actualizing yourself. And now you're just a fucking robot. And then you get depressed. Because underneath it all is this tiny flickering coal that no one can put out. And that's the Atman. And it's down there deep. And it's fucking it's like that nuclear reactor in Japan. You can't put it out. It's under there. It's just under there, sizzling away underneath all the layers of your repression and self-hypnosis. And that fucking creates this awful sense of nausea, or a sense of like, oh, what's wrong with my... Oh. If you didn't have that, you'd probably be able to just exist as a zombie and not even think about it. You'd just be a robot. But that fucking thing tortures you. And so you get on antidepressants to try to stop the feeling. You get on fucking this or that. You start drinking. You get addicted to drugs to try to avoid the fucking... to avoid taking yourself out of autopilot. Because generally, if you've been on autopilot for a long time, you've got a mess to clean up. And nobody wants to clean up that mess. It's like you haven't cleaned your house for 17 years or something. It's like a hoarder's house. Your subjective universe is a hoarder's house. And you got to clean that shit up. So the idea is, pop yourself off autopilot. If you're not feeling great right now, pop yourself off autopilot. If you're feeling down or depressed, identify the vampires in your life, excise them from your life, transform them if you can, or abandon them. And then once you've done that, start cleaning up the fucking mess. And just the very act of cleaning up that mess will fill you with the kind of exuberance that you have forgotten about. Because you're not on autopilot anymore. You're living. And that little spark, my sweet Emil, will become a fire of freedom that will sweep across this planet until all the Kardashians of the world have been pushed into the outer darkness where there is much wailing and gnashing of teeth, and we all hump and fuck each other until the cows come home. That's my dream of paradise.